I've always been a really big fan of Adria's Altea range, particularly in family-friendly layouts such as this 552DT Tamar. They offer masses of flexible, stylish interior space at an incredibly good price, which in the past has usually been less than £15,000. For 2017, however, it's had a little bit of a makeover and that price has crept up a little bit. This Tamar, excluding delivery, will cost you £15,390, which still represents fantastic value for money. So where's that money being spent? Well, look at the front of it and you'll see there's a big difference. That previously very bare front end now wears a huge panoramic sunroof at the top, which really does improve the looks. And no doubt, as we'll find out soon, it makes a big difference inside. There are some other really good mid-range features on here too. We've got a large external locker and heavy-duty steadies. Great to see on a decent-sized van. It is a bit of a shame that those steadies are really quite hard to access, however. And also at the back here, on the near side, we've got the toilet cassette hatch. Not great if you've got an awning up. There are a couple of little details that mark this out as a budget model, such as the rather cheap-looking hubcaps on those steel wheels. But then do remember that on most rival models, you are having to pay for an options pack to get the natty-looking alloys. Up front, there's an AKS hitch stabiliser, which is part of the standard UK pack, but of course no ATC. But we're just beating around the bush here. What we really want to know is what it's like inside with that lovely new roof. And the answer is lovely and bright, with that huge overhead window with its rather neat surround attractively blending it in, plus big side windows and a single pane front window. There really is masses of light pouring into here. And that's despite the fact that these new fabrics are a little bit darker than the old ones, with their rather funky contrasting cushions and attractive leaf pattern curtains. And it doesn't feel overwhelming because there's lots of white used for both the surfaces and the walls. Apart from that, there's not a vast amount to talk about in here. This is very much a budget model. So we haven't got any plugs on the front here. There's a couple of speakers, but no stereo to power them. There's a 230 volt socket and an aerial socket, although the aerial itself is a dealer fit option. What I really like though is the fact that the table for the lounge area is stored right here in this cupboard next to the lounge, just where you need it. The kitchen area majors on fantastic storage. I particularly like these huge drawers. They're really domestic in feel, masses of space, and of course rather nice soft closers. There's another big locker overhead, and there's a small cupboard above and below this services tower, which features a combined oven and grill and a reasonable sized fridge freezer. And being an Adria, of course, it has the smart kitchen, which is a rather neat triple inline gas hob with a stainless steel base that drains directly into a stainless steel sink. It's a really neat way of avoiding cooking spills. I like the little protective panel here to stop your woodwork getting damaged, but what we haven't got very much of is worktop space, unless of course you close the glass lid over the hob, which gives you a bit, and then noisily remove the chopping board from the overhead locker and place that over the sink. Hey presto, a good amount of worktop. If you need yet more, well, on this side of the van, of course, we've got the two-seater dinette with the table. Although it's a little bit low set, you could always use that for food preparation. It's a generously sized dinette for two, and at night it turns into a couple of bunk beds. The seat bases slide down onto the table to make the bottom one, and then there's a fold-out bunk above, although it does have a fairly low 50 kilo weight limit. Overhead there's a couple of good-sized lockers, and of course there's storage in both seat bases, although once again there are no drop-down flaps to access it, so you'll have to remove the cushions. At the back of the van here there's a couple of really good-sized bunk beds, with the top one accessed, as with the middle row, by a little ladder that drops into place. The top one has a 70 kilo weight limit, which is a little bit more useful for bigger children. Each one gets its own window and a little reading light with a cute owl motif. One thing that's gone for the 2017 season, however, is the option of a third bunk at the back here. Now, a 7-berth van might be quite a niche interest thing, but if you've got 4 kids who like to bring a friend with them occasionally, it's actually a really useful thing to have. Behind me, there's a good-sized wardrobe with the very continental style Truma Ultra Heat mounted beneath, and there's a socket here too, although it is one of only 3 in the entire van, or 4 if you count the one in the overhead kitchen locker, which is there should you get the dealer fit option of a microwave. And that just leaves the washroom, which is behind this door here. It's called an ergo bathroom, but we'd refer to it as a wet room. It's compact, yet manages to pack in all you could need with some thoughtful design. Behind a mirrored wall, there's a big cabinet and a drop-down sink, with beneath that a bench-style electric flush toilet. The separate shower doesn't have a fully moulded liner, but it does have a built-in shelf, a mirror and a useful drying rail behind its bifold door. The Altea Tamar's appeal as a family van is undiminished for 2017. It's still spacious, flexible and thoughtfully designed. But a bump up in price does make you analyse the details a bit more closely, and it would have been nice to see a few more sockets inside and perhaps some easier access to some of those internal storage areas. That said, this is still a very cheap van, and that fantastic new sunroof serves only to enhance its appeal.